I got a question for you.
Hit me.
How many of the 11 Saw films
Holy.
have you seen? And which ones?
I have, probably just the one.
Just Saw.
To completion, yeah.
Really?
The first Saw.
You never seen any of the other Saws?
Not in a way that it's like, oh, I'm gonna go watch Saw 7. You know, like it's not a list I got going on.
I feel like there isn't a Saw 7. I feel like it goes 1 to 6. 3D.
Saw Kids?
Something else. Yeah, I don't know what the series is, and I'm not even gonna find out.
Don't even bother.
So you haven't seen. You haven't seen. Okay. Well,
no, and
right.
or if I did, it's kind of all just one. It's like mushed into one.
That's yeah. So that's the thing. I think I have seen 4 of them.
Okay.
But I don't know which ones. But I have to imagine. Obviously, I've seen Saw for this podcast only. I skipped it originally. I was like, the sequel is better. No, I've seen Saw 2 for sure. And I think I've seen Saw 3. And I've seen Spiral, the one with Chris Rock.
Oh, that's right.
We've seen that one, right?
Well, we tried to, and then it was all in super écran French.
But then I watched it.
Okay.
I did eventually watch that film. And I think you watched it with me.
Possibly.
Or we put it on, not necessarily watching it. But
oh, that's right. Chris Rock.
It's not good. If I recall, it's not a good movie.
It's not his fault.
Neither are any of the other films in the series.
It's a bit like the Fast and Furious things, right? Where it's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's about family.
It's the one in the cars with the family. And this is the same. It's the one in the cars with the family. It's the
Fast and the Furious for torture devices. Like in Fast and the Furious, they're like, this is my Nissan Skyline. It's got under neon lighting. It's full of nitrous oxide. The engine is like fucking big.
Gorgeous.
It's like bigger than Vin Diesel's head.
Yeah.
And in Saw, it's like the Vin Diesel's head could fit in this bear trap that snaps it back and rips his face up.
Vin Diesel is the bear.
Vin Diesel.
His whole mouth is open with some guy's foot in it. Funny thing,
Vin Diesel made a cameo. He plays the reverse bear trap, actually.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. This movie doesn't have that much torture or gore.
No, the other movies take it in that direction. That's one of the failures, I think, of the Saw franchise, is that this movie is clearly like a kind of a ripoff of 7 in a lot of ways.
It's disgusting.
And it's dark. It's dark like 7, but also 7 doesn't have a lot of violence in it either. It's got a lot of the after effects of violence. 7, as you know, is a film that I watch when I'm feeling down and I have to cheer myself up.
Something upbeat.
But Saw is it's got that. It's not super violent, but it is quite dark.
It's gross, and by gross I just mean like there's mold and like they just stick their hand in a toilet.
He has to stick his hand in the shit toilet.
Yeah, it's things like that.
There's also like the way that the Jigsaw killer kills the people in this movie is conceptually awful. Like with the guy who's stuck in the room full of barbed wire,
right? The
girl with the bear trap, all these like those things are all very like gross, but there's not as much gore as in the other ones. The other ones are like straight up torture porn. They're like hostile basically, and that's the series goes in that direction. And a big part of this movie is actually just like a mystery.
That's right.
With 2 guys. And like I think maybe people forget that because this movie's like 25 years old now, or 20 years old, excuse me.
Oh my God.
But like most of this movie, what I like about it is the mystery part of it, but the ending is disgusting. Like the ending is so awful, how when he cuts his own foot off, that you're just like, yeah, that's so gross.
Right.
That's such a gross thing, and it's so brutal. And it's also like Carrie Elwes is a little shaky in this film, but like that part is like pretty horrifying. And also Lee Winnell, the writer and now director, but the writer of this movie with James Wan, who plays Adam, his like reaction to it is also horrible. Yeah, and it's the same, I think, too. Like when I think the most horrifying parts of this movie is like when the woman gets the bear trap off her face and throws it.
Yeah.
The way she like screams in horror when it snaps back is like terrifying.
It's an excellent part of the
really
film.
terrifying. Yeah. That part actually we'll talk about it later, but I'll tell you something funny, not funny about that part. There's nothing funny about that.
The woman with the bear trap on her face.
But that is like, it is what's like super effective about the film, I think. Yeah.
Shit.
Because this is a good movie. I think this is a pretty fucking great film. Yeah.
The twist at the end is something you never see coming. Like it's so beautifully, just delightfully surprised.
I think this movie has one of the best. We talk a lot about how hard it is to land a horror plane.
Yeah.
I think this movie has one of the best endings.
Absolutely.
Of like modern horror films.
I
think,
agree.
Like, I certainly, when I was like 15 and saw this movie, I didn't see the twist coming that way.
No.
And like, speaking of how hard it is to land the plane of a horror film, I'm sure there's lots of people on the internet or whatever who can nitpick the twist of this. That like the guy, I read a page, I read a piece of slop content where someone was like, they didn't notice that the guy was breathing, or they didn't notice that he electrocuted them and stuff. And I was kind of
You're not going to notice anything when you're on edge.
Exactly. I was kind of like, well, okay, that's a valid point, but also they had a lot of other more important things on their mind. And frankly, the guy looked dead, and they couldn't touch him. They couldn't reach him and be like, "Hey, is this guy alive?" With the gun wound in his head. Like,
and he could have given him, so he's like access to all this medication and stuff. He could have easily just like, oh, here's a little ketamine for myself, or whatever sleepy drug. So I'm out for a couple hours.
Well, no, he's awake the whole time. Like, it is crazy that he's like awake he's like awake lying on the floor for 4 hours.
He's got like the best neck in the game.
Yeah.
He's just in one position, face down, neck sideways.
Probably had to do a lot of yoga after this to, But like it, you can nitpick a lot about this movie, but it's like, I don't know. I think it's pretty excellent.
I love it.
I really enjoy it.
It's got such a thriller movie ending. It's like Seven-esque. And you don't expect a horror to have that.
It has such a good twist. I'm so good at hearing things.
Yeah,
I would be so good at kidnapping and torturing people. I'm just putting it out there.
You'd be good at identifying who's sleeping versus who's not too. You could be chained in a room and be like, that guy's definitely napping.
This is like a rare thing for me to say. The reason we're talking about this, because I just cut something out, is that the alarm goes off when our neighbors come in. But and I was predicted it like a G. But the reason, like, something that's really rare that I think is a quality that I have, is that I am equally as good at being a victim of a serial killer and serial killing. I think I've proven that, and I really, it's something that I'm really proud of. I think I could be the jigsaw killer myself. I don't need you and your shit, okay?
Validate you.
I don't need your help. All right.
You know what? I would be a good, like, Penn Badgley-esque style killer. I would have a lot of, like, comfort being total psycho manipulator who's like, oh my God, I love social media.
I strongly disagree with you.
Let me follow you, girl. And then I would just, like, mind game that shit.
No, I don't think so.
What?
Like, you're too giving. You're too nice. Like,
that's some bullshit.
Like,
I'll cut
you would have like manipulated somebody, and then you'd get them right to the point where they're like standing over an open grave that you've pre-dug in Central Park, and they're like, oh my God, are you about to kill me? And you'd be like, I was, but I'm sorry, I could buy you dinner instead. It's like, no problem.
What the hell?
And then also, look, I don't mean to get too deep into our private life, but as you don't have a good enough sense of direction to be an effective serial killer. I truly think that, like,
that's true.
To be a successful serial killer, you need certain common sense benchmarks and you have a lot of them.
What the hell?
I'm just saying, you have a lot of them, but I think to adapt to the problems, you need to, like, you need a sense of direction, because like, if you're late for something or you can't find a certain place when you're like, oh, it was all timed out perfectly until I couldn't find this fucking bar they wanted to meet me in.
Is it my left or your left? I don't fucking. What is Westward?
What city is this? Where are we? Where am I supposed to go?
Look, it's gonna be so funny if I stab you right now. If I leap off this couch and kill you.
See, that's the thing though, is like, I think you'd be a great impulse killer.
Yeah.
I think you would be great at, like.
Would I be a great Saw?
No, he's not an impulse killer. He's a planner.
Oh, true.
I think you would be great at like the very short, like 5-6 person spree spread over about a day.
Nice.
And then you'd get probably shot to death by the police.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a numbers game.
You know, considering we don't have to go get all political, but you are brown, and
what?
You are, you know, different. You're a person of color.
Oh, wow.
And you know, the police would not take too kindly to A, that, and B, you killing 5 or 6 people.
What if they look at me and be like, "This one, she could never. Look at her glasses. What a little dork."
She's got the knife and everything. But what the fuck were we talking about? The twist at the end of this, I think is a grade A. I think it's what I was going to say before I was interrupted by the alarm, and then we got sidetracked. Figuring out what type of killer you would be. I think this is an underrated twist in films.
I agree.
I think that when people talk about great twists in movies, you know, we're talking The Sixth Sense. That's it.
That's it.
The only twist in film is that movie, right?
He's so good at Shyamalan's great at twists, man. But he also, like, you know that there's going to be a big ass twist, so you don't even bother, kind of.
Right, but The Sixth Sense is the only good one. And
The Visit is great.
What's the twist in The Visit? The kids are also old.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, not much of a.
That.
Yeah,
but like we're talking about.
Right. The twist. Well, not to spoil it. So spoilers for The Visit. The grandparents are not the real grandparents. Right. They are just people who run away from psych ward, pretending to be.
Right. See, but I've seen The Visit and I don't even remember that. So it can't be that memorable, you know? Like I'm talking about quintessential twists in cinema.
Yeah.
And The Sixth Sense is the big one you think of, right? There's others that I cannot think of them. I don't know. The Matrix, Lord of the Rings, whatever. Like
Harry Potter had all the twists, though it's not a.
Not really, no. No, it doesn't like yank out the carpet underneath you at the end. Lots of like horror mystery. What's the one? The Edward Norton and Richard Gere one. Big twist in that. Primal Fear.
Primal Fear.
Huge twist in that movie, right?
Sure.
Saw, I think, does not get recognized for how good the twist is in this movie, in my opinion. People may quibble with that, but I don't care. I don't care, and I don't want to hear it because I think it's a great twist. It was the guy all along.
Crazy twist in a Soderbergh film that we just saw with the ghosts. Presence?
Oh, Presence.
Or maybe it's not a twist, and I was just like,
you just weren't paying attention. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
No, that's not a twist. That's just more the mystery is
surprise.
Solved. No, that's just the mystery is wrapped up in that film.
Yeah.
And it's a surprise, but it's also like.
Yeah, there's no expectations aren't like subverted all of a sudden.
Well, a twist is always like you. Oh God, I just had one on my mind too. It's like, but you sit. The Usual Suspects. Another great twist.
Of course. Anything with fucking Spacey.
Not really at all. Just that one movie, but yeah, anything with Spacey. You're right.
7.
That's not a twist. Again, that's the mystery being resolved. A twist is always that someone sits down and they're just like, well, that was a good hard day's work at my job being a lawyer or a cop or whatever. Yeah. And then they realize in the last kind of minute that it's all different. That's what The Usual Suspects is. That's what Primal Fear is. Mm-hmm. The Sixth Sense is that as well. 7, and what was the movie you just said? Oh, The Presence is like you were never on someone else's tail.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You were always just waiting for the mystery to be revealed. Mm-hmm. Like in 7, you never see the killer until, like, the meta twist is that it's Kevin Spacey who just won an Academy Award for The Usual Suspects or whatever. Like that's the meta twist of that, is that it's this huge actor.
Yeah.
But that's not a twist. That's just your mystery is wrapping up in an interesting way.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then Kevin Spacey, went on, did nothing wrong.
Stayed super normal, super good, normal guy.
Yeah. Just normal dude. He casual. Was in every movie he was in after that was really good and had a twist. American Beauty. He's not actually beautiful. He's kind of bad.
He's not even that good in American.
Yeah. Pay It Forward. He was a ghost the whole time.
I have no memory of it. Oh, maybe I didn't see it.
I have no memory of this film I never saw.
Yeah,
weird. That's weird
backward.
How that is.
I revoked the payment.
All right. You want to talk about this movie?
About Saw?
Do you want to talk about the movie we came here to talk about?
I seen it.
first off, do you want to hear about how this movie came to life?
Yes. Tell me.
Okay, so crazy thing is this movie was made for like $700,000, which is insane. I don't know what they paid Cary Elwes in, but it couldn't have been currency. I don't think.
Jeez, okay.
He must have made like $3,000. James Wan, Lee Winnell, James Wan I just read actually. A good director. He's the most recent thing he directed was an Aquaman film.
Oh, jeez, okay.
The second one?
Right.
I think he directed both of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a big Aquaman fan.
First of all,
You've
scratch that bullshit off of this podcast for anyone who takes it even remotely seriously.
But you've always been a staunch Aquaman defender.
I just enjoy water-based cinema.
You don't enjoy water-based anything. Don't lie to the people, all right?
Well, you started it with big fan of Aquaman. Do not lead the people astray, John.
Yeah, so he most recently directed Aquaman. He is I think I read, he's like the 21st highest grossing filmmaker of all time.
So not even top 20? Boo. Just kidding.
That's pretty high.
That's crazy.
For someone who... I would argue James Wan is not a household name among directors.
No, of course.
Like, if someone was like, what did James Wan direct? Most people would be like, The Conjuring. That's the first thing that would come to their head. But even that, like, a lot of people, I think on the flip side, way more people would be like, hey, who directed The Conjuring? And they'd be like, I have no fucking idea.
Exactly. People who watch The Conjuring will not give a fuck about direction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I respect James Wan as a director. I think The Conjuring is like maybe one of the best movies he's made. But yeah, because of the universe that he's been in, though, and also the way that we talked about this in the Sinister pod, but like the way that he prestigified horror for a good amount of time, and like made these like mid-budget horror films that made a ton of money. He's really fascinating in that regard. But during the timing of this movie, he is at the Down Under Institute of Technology with Lee Winnell. They're from Australia. Lee Winnell is now also a writer-director. He did The Invisible Man, which is a movie I have a lot of time for. And he did a great movie called Upgrade, which I really enjoyed. Oh. And he most recently did The Wolf Man, which I never saw.
Ooh, yet to watch.
Didn't get good reviews, but I like Lee Winnell. He's an interesting... It's weird to say. He's a really good filmmaker who has a lot of visual creativity, but he's never made a big movie, not the way James Wan has. Yeah. So it's hard to like... But... So have you seen Upgrade?
No. Who's in it?
The guy who's in the Invitation and Prometheus, Logan Marshall Green.
Oh my God!
Tom Hardy's
doppelganger.
Tom Hardy's kind of little cleaned up brother. Yeah. Logan Marshall Green.
Okay.
Upgrade is like a cool movie that was made for like $2 million. Like it's very kind of like this like independent movie about this dude who's in a wheelchair. Yeah. And then he gets like a chip implanted in his neck and it makes him into like a super cyborg. And I remember like hearing about it and how Lee Winnell did this really cool thing where there's this like shot that they do in that where the camera perfectly follows Logan Marshall Green as he's like fighting this dude, and it does these like crazy ass flips and stuff. And it's very similar actually to Roadhouse, what we talked about in the Roadhouse episode with like
interesting choreography.
The way
the fights.
Yeah, but the way they don't cut when you think they're gonna cut, and they weren't covering the full scene. They're just shooting in this like quick oneer. Yeah. And the way he did that was that he strapped an iPhone to Logan Marshall Green's chest that had an app on it with a sensor, and then programmed it so that the camera would follow the sensor on the iPhone. It's hard to describe, but it's like a very, very interesting shot. So Lee Winnell is like, he's kind of an interesting visionary director. That's why I was like kind of excited to see Wolfman, but I heard, but I would watch it. I would have watched it on the plane the other day if I had time. But these two guys, they meet at the Something Institute of Technology down in Australia. And they were in a film class, I think, and they made a horror short film together.
Okay.
And all of the they said that all of the cinema bros in the class were like, horror is for losers. So we don't take any of this seriously whatsoever.
Boo.
And so they were like, well, all right, would we want to make horror films? They saw the Blair Witch Project and that blew their dick off. They were just like, this is obviously
welcome to Supreme Cinema.
If we had 5,000 Australian dollars, the equivalent of 30 American dollars, they would be like, we could also make this fucking crazy movie.
Yeah.
And so they started collaborating on this script, and they started to write. Basically, they were like, we're going to write a short film, and then they ended up writing a feature-length film. And they cut it down and they made this short film, which I think was eventually released. It was at a film festival, but it was also, I think, probably a special feature on a DVD, and it was called Saw 0.5.
Oh my God.
And it's the bear trap sequence. That was it was 9 minutes long of that sequence only. So that whole thing is adapted from their short film. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool.
That fucking bear trap sequence with the girl, I don't know, maybe it inspired other movies too. Do you remember 13 Ghosts with Tony Shalhoub?
No, but I know you're a huge fan of it.
It has one of the ghosts has a bear trap or just a cage contraption around her face.
Wasn't 13 Ghosts from the 90s though?
Oh, is it before?
Maybe.
I don't know, but
I mean, if it has Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah. The man who only lived in the 90s and then in Mrs. Maisel.
Yeah.
Love you, Monk. Yeah, weird. I wonder if just the idea of it's such a classic torture device. It's so iconic, like an Iron Maiden, or just yeah.
Yeah. What? Actually, not to derail us. What are your favorite torture devices, though?
I do like the ones that allow you to sit down a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, let me take care of my back.
Hold on, I'll do you one better.
Oh.
If you want to take care of your back, the rack.
Ooh.
That's a pretty sick one, right?
Yeah.
The rack. That was always a really cool torture device.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah. I don't look, I'm okay with torture that is full limb. I'm okay with larger parts of the body being focused on rather than tiny parts like fingernails or eyes.
Yeah.
Or, man, just take my whole head off.
Is there actually, here's a better question that's not sarcastic at all. Is there anything I have a pretty high threshold for gross stuff in cinema, and you do too.
Mm-hmm.
But is there anything that is depicted on screen in any of any movie you've ever seen that is really hard to watch?
Toilet content.
What?
It's okay. I'm immediately if you're trapped in a toilet or going to a toilet and the whole room is just fucking rank.
The reason I'm asking is because I truly believe that a film can't be good unless there's a scene in a toilet.
Oh my God. This is why I cannot watch Dumb and Dumber with you. My God, it's the horror of horrors.
I think one of the biggest downfalls of The Godfather is that there's no scene where someone's taking a dump while they're talking about who to whack or whatever. No, but what do you mean by toilet stuff?
Just a really filthy room.
Like Train Spotting?
Like train spotting, fucking The Saw, even other horrors where they kind of trap you in a room, but it's obviously covered in just poo.
What about
hard no?
What about a Triangle of Sadness when the toilet is exploding?
Exactly that. The lady who someone thrown up on someone else's head. Nah, man. I think just the bodily fluid part of me is a no.
Oh, interesting.
That's a hard watch.
That's so funny because I really am not a scatological humor type guy, but I don't really care for that very much. I'm not, it doesn't. Yeah. I'm not I'm oh yeah, I can't wait to watch that. But it is.
I will avert my eyes that to the point that I'm I'll just look away for a moment.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this Italian movie which is quite well known for being one of the most fucked up movies ever called Salò. And there's a lot of shit eating in that film.
See?
And it's gross. It's disgusting. I'm not saying I'm gonna go and seek it out. No. Just to see if you can handle it. It's I've seen that movie, and while it has some merits, it's there's parts where they're just people just taking a dump on a table and being like, eat that. And it's just, it's disgusting. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Cinema.
Yeah. It's these Italians, man, they know two things. Food and good movies. But stuff like the Triangle of Sadness when the toilet is like exploding and there's like heavy metal music playing. Yep. I think that was actually very funny. But like in this movie, like when he reaches,
if it's a split second, okay, but the whole movie is the toilet in Saw. And like Trainspotting, like a large part of that movie is like, drug seeking toilet behavior.
Well, the toilet scene is only one scene if I remember correctly in Trainspotting. I haven't seen that movie in forever.
What an impact.
Yeah. But
the closest I've come to watching a toilet scene is because it was a clean toilet, and it's in Harry Potter when before you go into the ministry you got to step into a toilet.
Yeah, well, I've already talked about how absurd that is. This is fucking
because it's pristinely
fucking
clean.
Wizards have like no dignity whatsoever.
Yeah,
They're just like, I'm gonna go flush myself down a toilet to get to work. It's fucking absurd.
That's what it's like to work in the government. Okay, it's a great analogy from a terrible person. Yeah.
What are you talking about? What's she done?
She's normal.
But like, is there any like violent stuff that you like can't?
No,
handle?
I'm totally okay with gore and violence and things like that. Like I don't think it. But also just largely desensitized, right? Because we consume that content quite a bit. And so maybe even against my will, I've been made to feel normal about, pluck his eye out and eat it, Like it's fine.
Yeah, like a lot of it too is like so fake that it's kind of like
implausible.
Hostel's effects I don't think are good enough to be fully gross.
No.
But like I always think of have you seen Syriana?
No.
Oh, it was like a Stephen Gaghan movie from like 2005. George Clooney won his first Academy Award, Best Supporting Actor. But there's a scene in it, not to spoil anything, even though that movie's kind of unspoilerable because it's impossible to comprehend. But like, there's a scene where they torture George Clooney and they tear off his fingernails.
Oof.
It's really gross.
Are you an anti-fingernail crime?
What do you mean?
Like, do you hate watching that?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
was
okay.
That scene I find always really horrible.
But
it's the same too when like people in real life or in a film, if they like put their fingernails on a chalkboard. Yeah. Even in a movie, I find that horrible.
Really?
Yes. In Jaws when Mr. Jaw himself puts his does the fingernail thing, I actually find that unbearable to watch.
Wow, dude.
And then there's like, have you ever seen Bone Tomahawk?
Tell me about it.
There's a fucking really horrible scene in that movie. That movie is like not that violent until it gets like incredibly violent at the end. And there's a movie where they like cut a guy in half.
Oh boy.
From like the crotch to the head. And it's just so viscerally disgusting.
Oh God.
And
yeah.
And that movie is like, it's like good, but it's like you didn't need that.
And also, like showing male genitalia in movies, they don't do that often.
No.
So every time they do, even if it's like well protected and preserved, it's a little jarring, dude. Every time they're like, oh, here's just boom, some guy takes his pants off but still has his shirt on. Oh my God.
Oh, like in The Worst Person in the World?
Yeah, sure. Like, yeah. If you're just walking around looking like a toddler, but
are you saying that, okay, The Worst Person in the World and the part in Antichrist where she crushes his dick with a woodblock?
Both equally horrifying. Equally terrifying. It's like 90%, 20%, like right next to each other.
But like, I also thought it was like disturbing and really out of place when Anders comes blood in The Worst Person in the World. Because I was like, this was like a PG film up until this.
Come on, man.
Yeah, and in Antichrist, I was like, this is normal.
Yeah. Casual stuff.
Yeah, casual.
Willem Dafoe.
Just normal
just being
things.
Himself.
Yeah. Yeah. But otherwise, like, I don't find too much like too disturbing. But I do find the part in this movie when he cuts his foot off, I find that pretty hard to watch. It's pretty horrible.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anything with like any item that's rusty already, it's like, oh, tetanus immediately.
I think he has other things to worry about.
He's got a little bit more of a. I know we just mentioned Antichrist. I don't want to take too much away from it, but the lady in Antichrist, Charlotte Gainsbourg. She just popped up on this TV show that I randomly started watching, Étoile or something. It's a ballet dance show.
Do I look French to you? I don't know.
Maybe it is toilet in French. Every time I see her face in any other context now, it's like such a painful experience. I cannot just disconnect her from her time in Antichrist.
The two movies I associate her with the most are Antichrist and Nymphomaniac.
Yeah.
And in both those movies, she seems like a person who's like trapped inside of their body, and their body is like making them crazy.
It's the most painful thing to watch.
And she's like really good at it, but also she seems just like feral and insane.
So it's so strange to see her as a spunky ballet school director.
I know, like acting normal. Yeah.
Acting normal. Like, what is she about to cut my dick off any second now? I'm afraid to look away, bro.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what that movie does to you.
Yeah.
So by the time I watched Saw.
Did you see it when it was early on, like when you were 14?
I was quite young, very, very young.
Yeah, I saw it. I didn't see it in theaters, but I saw it like the year it came out on video or some shit. Yeah.
Thankfully, I have no association of those actors in my mind, and I grew up and I saw them in a bunch of different things, so that I don't have a hard time digesting their faces.
Who, like in Saw?
In Saw.
Like Cary Elwes?
Yeah, I just don't associate these actors with, they were in Saw first.
Yeah, but he is like the most famous person, and he's not that, like I guess arguably you could say Monica Potter is now more famous, but like...
Well, the guy from Rush Hour and Succession, Eric.
Oh, yeah. Eric,
he's a big face.
Yeah, and well, I'm sorry, what's his name? The African-American actor. I'm too old for this shit.
Oh, yeah, Danny Glover.
Danny Glover.
Yeah.
He's probably the most famous. But at the time, none of them were really well-known actors. Yeah, like now you can place them all. Lee Winnell hasn't really gone on to act because he's written and directed.
Mm-hmm.
But like now, all of the principal actors you can place in something, including is it Tobin Bell?
Yeah.
Jigsaw, right?
Yeah.
Who is like just Jigsaw. Like he's funnily enough, he's in like The Sopranos for one episode as a guest star, but like he's just Jigsaw. He's just so iconically this guy. But yeah, but at the time they're all just kind of like Cary Elwes is like, I don't really like Cary Elwes is like on the back foot of his career, it seems, because it's like he was in like a bunch of shit. He was in Robin Hood Men in Tights. Which I don't know how big of a deal that is at the time. But
I mean, now it's like such a big cult thing.
Yeah, but it seems like Saw, you're just kind of like, what the fuck is Cary Elwes doing?
What is he doing?
What are Cary Elwes and Danny Glover doing in this movie? Where did they not get paid money to do it? Like they just seem to be doing it for the love of the game.
And they all seem like villains in it.
Yeah.
I'm not rooting for any of them to live. I'm like, you're all kind of pieces of shit.
It's not like it resurrects any of their careers in a significant way. Danny Glover and Cary Elwes have both gone on to do respectable things. Mm-hmm. But like they do feel like they were like people who were bigger. Like Danny Glover was in, was it Naked Gun or something like that? Well, he was in like a series for like 4 films.
Right.
Huge actor. And yeah, it's just so interesting. And yeah, I don't know.
To not be like weird. Even typecast. Because if you do that now, you pop up in one horror film, you kind of tend to stay in that, or you go into a comedy. It's rare to see like a horror actor show up in like a prestige drama.
It's hard too, especially if that horror film spawns 9 other films.
Dude,
like it's like the I know that the woman who plays Amanda, the Bear Trap girl, she appears in like a bunch of the other films because she becomes like a disciple of Jigsaw. Sorry for the spoiler, everyone.
Oh no, because she survives it.
But I'd never seen her in anything else. But it is interesting because like Danny Glover and Cary Elwes, and to a certain extent, God, I forgot the actor's name, Eric from Industry.
Yeah,
they kind of like, they kind of transcend the genre. And they don't, because like Danny Glover was famous before that, Cary Elwes was famous before that.
Totally.
But yeah, like you would think that they would just all of a sudden just be like Patrick Wilson, right? Like Patrick Wilson's a great actor in other shit.
He's an Insidious guy.
But then he's in Insidious and Conjuring, and then every other Conjuring movie. And you're just like, wow, Patrick Wilson can do one thing. And it's like, no, he can't. He's actually a really good actor.
He's also great in comedies and like.
He's incredible in that Girls episode where he makes that cameo and like, It's interesting because this is one of the most by volume one of the most long running horror franchises ever made. Yeah.
I'm just surprised that there's so much appetite for mainstream gore, or there was, and now I can't think of another like franchise that is like horror that lasts 8 movies, 9 movies.
The Conjuring, technically.
It's not gore.
And it's only like
and it's paranormal
4 or 5 movies. Yeah.
So it's not really.
Also, some of them are pretty bad.
I think the torture porn thing, do you think it's dead?
Well, Saw X only came out 2 years ago.
Right.
And I think like it didn't fucking, I mean, it was nominated for Best Picture, but like it's not like it blew up the box office, you know? But yeah, like torture porn, it's interesting because when I read an article that ranked all of the Saw movies.
Yeah.
And I believe Saw 3D. Okay, so Saw comes out in 2004.
Yeah.
That was obviously number 1 on that list. It's obviously the best film. And then it's like quickly followed by like Saw 2 in 2006, all the way up to Saw 3D, which was the 7th in the franchise, I think.
Okay.
In 2010. So between 2004 and 2010, they released 7 films. In 6 years,
they've released 7 films. Yeah.
And then
People want it.
And Saw 3D, you can probably guess, not super successful.
I didn't have my glasses on, my 3D glasses.
Yeah. You probably could maybe figure out it's not a super successful movie.
Wild.
They take a hiatus from the franchise for 7 years after that.
Yeah.
Basically. And then they come back with what do they come back? I don't really remember. I can't remember because there's a Jigsaw prequel, I think. Then there's Spiral, which is bad, which is like a concurrent, whatever the fuck. And then there's Saw X, which is like back into the game. Saw X was like, let's get back to basics. I'm pretty sure.
Did you see it?
No, I did not. But I probably would at some time if I felt so inclined. But yeah.
Maybe we watch it on an airplane next time.
No, I'm not going to do that.
I'm not going to have others watch me watching Saw.
Yeah. On airplanes, I pay attention to films.
You're right. It's more for Barry Lyndon-esque cinema.
It's more when I'm at home, definitely not working. Definitely, because I would never do that. I would never watch a movie.
You don't want to be trapped in a metal tube watching Saw.
I would never. Well, some people are, though, at all times. That's the Saw within the Saw. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. They should make a movie where someone gets trapped in like a torture device and the torture is watching all of the Saw films. That's what Saw 11 is about. Yeah, so it's interesting because like torture porn was never like mainstream, but it had a moment with Saw and Hostel and all this kind of shit up until 2010 when it's like Saw is the most popular thing. And then in the mid 2010s or the 2010s it kind of was less
just down
and it's still like I can't think of. The thing is that horror film making I think is so accessible now because of horror has become this niche and it's not prestigious but it's very popular because of outlets like Shudder or all these streaming services where people can make horror films for very little money but still get eyes on them.
Right.
Like what's it with the clown, the Terrifier. Terrifier.
Oh.
Yeah, like Terrifier is like extremely violent. I've never seen any of them, but
yikes.
I don't think they're torture porn. They're just like incredibly violent.
Yeah,
but they're like low budget.
So it's gore still, but it's not. Yeah. Maybe the demand for it is gone because it doesn't seem as torturous anymore.
What is the demand? Right?
Like the appetite for it is less because we just get to consume it everywhere else.
Yeah, true.
In thrillers, you get to see someone's head cut off, and in like another mafia film, you get to see someone's nails chipped off. So it's
I think you're right with like we've talked about this so much, but like the ubiquity of violence in film does make it a little less impactful.
Yeah,
and because there was always, I think, with early torture porn and a lot of those really disturbing films, there's always a sense of like. I think part of the joy of it is like you're getting away with something subversive.
Yeah.
And now I think cinema in general, like a lot of popular cinema is much more violent on average. I'm not saying it's like intense, but like a lot of stuff is like it's funny, speaking of the plane, I was watching Gone Girl.
Yeah.
Because it's on a plane, they like blurred out some parts of it.
Oh, interesting.
And there's like the part where Neil Patrick Harris gets killed.
Yeah.
And it's like incredibly violent.
Yeah.
And it's like, but like that's David Fincher, and that's totally fine. I love Fincher. He's my favorite director. But that is a thing where you're just kind of like, yeah, like this movie doesn't need to be this violent.
No.
Like it's already like the subject matter is pretty dark.
Yeah.
But you're also like, this moment doesn't need to be that fucked up. And it is. But like, and that's a movie that it's like, that could just be I mean, you could get away with like a PG rating in that film if you wanted to. But
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I think you're right about that.
I'm right.
Torture porn is still like a niche thing. And
yeah.
But I don't think it's getting any more. Like it's not like Saw X wasn't going to be like unlock a whole new generation of people who are into it. But yeah.
But I'm glad that things like streaming sites like Shudder exist, you know, where you can just have a house for that, even though there's not crazy amounts of demand, even though you're not going to catch it on Netflix. There's all these regulations for, there's only so much you can show.
I think Shudder, I've like gotten Shudder for like a month here and there to watch some movies, like some Shudder exclusive movies and stuff like that. And I've never really felt like there was enough on there to keep me interested.
Totally.
Because a lot of like, one thing I think that's interesting in like the modern streaming ecosystem is how there is like seems to be this subset of people who are just like, I just watch every horror film. I'm just into every horror. And I'm not really like that. No. I'm kind of like, there's a certain bottom of the barrel that I'm like, I'm not going to watch that.
Of course.
Like I can already look at it and see that I'm not going to enjoy this movie.
Well, we're the same with certain action films or certain comedies. It's like, I'm not going to watch this.
But action films I'm more likely to hit the bottom of the barrel action
really?
film than I am a horror film.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, but like there's a certain level I just kind of won't. I'm just kind of like, I'm not really gonna get into.
I mean,
and a lot of Shudder kind of seems like that, where it's like a movie, it's like a horror film about cockroaches or something, and it's like, but you're just kind of like, this was made for $18, so I'm not really into that. Yeah.
An action film that needs to be on Shudder is Ambulance, because it's fucking horrifying. Put that shit on there, Jake Gyllenhaal.
You've had a real vendetta against Ambulance ever since I told you it was the best film ever made. And I can't help but think I had something to do with it.
Sucks. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the plot? No.
I don't think there's anything to discuss about the plot.
All right.
In detail.
There's two guys stuck in a room.
Yeah.
They know stuff about each other.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the goal is that Cary Elwes has to kill Adam or his family will be murdered.
That's right.
Adam is a photographer. He's been stalking Cary Elwes. Jigsaw is this killer who's punishing people for the way they live their lives. Not necessarily are they doing bad things. Some of them might be addicted to drugs. Some of them are performing their infidelity. They're infidels, but not in the God way, in the sex way. And essentially he cuts his foot off and that's how it goes.
Well,
we've seen Saw. It's 20 years old.
The thing with the plot is that it's obviously interesting because you don't realize Jigsaw is setting them up against each other until much later. You think it's like a random collection of people that he's been targeting, and then slowly it turns out Jigsaw is dying.
It's all like been part of his master plan.
Yeah, because because he has such value for life, because he has so few days to live, I think. Because of cancer. Or
do you want to know how that came about? Actually, in a production sense. So Jigsaw, like, it's really fascinating. I read this. It was just on Wikipedia, but it was apparently there was like an interview that Jon and Pri gave talking about this, and it's fascinating hearing like how they synthesized. They basically synthesized two really interesting ideas into this one character. Okay, so Lee Winnell, who's suffering from migraines. And he went to the doctor and he was like really anxious about it because he was like, what if I get in there? And the doctor was just like, oh yeah, you have a cranial tumor and you're going to die. Mm-hmm. Like what does that mean in like the grand scheme of things? Like could be anything. And he's like, also there's people, he's like, there's people in this building right now who are being told they're going to die like soon. Mm-hmm. And that's like a mind fuck kind of thing when you're anxious about that. So that was like the A part of it was he was thinking about that idea. Like, how would you live your life if you knew you were going to die soon.
Yeah.
James Wan, this one I love. It's so fucking great. He had heard about a serial killer who broke into people's houses and tickled their feet.
Stop, dude.
But importantly,
like tickle them to death?
I don't think tickled them to death. I think he killed them after.
Oh, okay.
After he got his tickling out. And then, but the guy, the tickler, when he was arrested, he said that he was innocent because he had been told he had to do it by someone who mailed him a jigsaw piece. Which is exactly like that. That sounds almost unbelievable how convenient it is. But, and I don't know how true it is. Like, it could be totally, he's just bullshitting us. But like, that's the two ideas that kind of came together. And like the idea of like setting up these killings to make people value their life more. Yeah. I think it's actually a very compelling idea.
It's a great premise to like put on your, lead killer. It's a good backstory for him to have.
It's a good like anti-hero premise where it's kind of like you're trying to do a good thing for these people by putting them through hell. Yeah. I think it's like frankly, it's a great premise for a movie. Like in it 7, which I think is one of my favorite movies and I think is one of the greatest crime films ever. Mm-hmm. It's still like in 7 he's so diabolical, but ultimately he does just murder them.
But he also wants to go out the same way, right?
What do you mean?
His conviction is that I have also become, Kevin Spacey has also become victim to one of these sins. Because he wants wrath or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
He becomes envy.
Okay, yeah, there you are. So like he deserves the same fate. So he is kind of principled.
Well, he wants to make like a grand plan that has to do with the 7 deadly sins, but also like the way he punishes the people is so I don't know if it's like brutal or more, but it's like so intense, and he gives them like a seemingly impossible choice. Like that's the thing. Yeah. Every time in like. Yeah, in 7, it's always like, die or do this. And in Saw, it's the same. It's like die or but in Saw, it's kind of like die or torture yourself to an extreme extent to get through this. Yeah. Whereas in 7, I guess you could say it's the same. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like, they're both good movies. That's what I'm trying to say. Just why don't you watch them both back to back? You'll have a great day.
Don't watch it on a plane.
One cost $30 million. Another one cost a pair of fucking Nike shoes.
Terrible toilets. Yeah. Cost having to sit in one.
Cost having a shoe. Yeah. But yeah, I just think it's a compelling premise. And I think it's like, I think what I was getting at was like, it's compelling because it worked for 7 with the religious angle, and it works for this with the life affirmation angle.
They're both philosophical.
Yeah, in a basic sense they are. And like that's certainly, I'm not afraid to admit that like when I was like 15 and saw this, that like certainly was like, oh, that's such an, because like when you're a teenager, I don't know, when I was like, fancied myself like an intellectual, it's like you want films that have thoughts behind them,
And I know you're not a big fan of this, but the most recent movie, Talk to Me, which was made by those YouTube cinema guys with the hand.
Also Australians.
Yeah. I think it has the same premise, that it like starts off from a point of like kids inviting bad elements into their life, such as drugs / ghosts. I think it
ghosts on drugs.
Ghosts on drugs. Yeah. It's like a cute little like nudge. Hey, don't fall to peer pressure and do dumb shit like shake hands with a ghost and then bring them into your body.
But it's like more metaphorical.
It's more direct. It's more.
No, it's less direct. That's what I'm saying. Like talk to me.
Like it's more obvious that it's about drugs.
Yeah, but Talk to Me is more of a metaphor for something, or an allegory for something else. Whereas Saw is like very directly, like the whole thing with Amanda and the bear trap. When like it may seem kind of, I guess it could seem kind of clunky. Yeah. But the way that she's like, oh, he helped me, is such like, that's like the exact point. Yeah. Whereas like Talk to Me, it's a little more allegorical towards like what it's gonna. It's like it's allegorical in the way like it follows as allegory. It's like you could read it multiple ways. But this movie is like. Yeah, I don't know. I admire the diabolicalness of it, I guess.
And that's like, it makes sense that it gave birth to more of its kind.
Yeah, but
it's a shame that it
forgot the message.
Yeah, exactly. It's a shame that it goes away from the philosophy of it, like that it started it, and it just becomes this. And it was the first movie's not even torture porn. There is no torture, like we said at first, but the other ones are just knee deep in gore so much. It's like a cosmetic effect of just having been a movie like that.
Yeah, like I think here's how I'll put it, which I think is what you're getting at, is like Saw, no matter how simplistic it is like it's actually a movie that's about something.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, it's weird to be like, yeah, Saw is actually a movie about life affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And the other movies are not. They're just about like gore.
Yeah.
And they're just about like get butts in seats and have people like yell at the screen at the theater, which is a completely valid way to make a movie. I don't think that that's terrible.
Yeah,
or anything,
get your money.
but it is what sets this movie apart, I think, from the other films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Saw 10 out of 10.
It's a good movie. I like this movie a lot.
You've seen it so many times.
I have seen it. It's a very digestible film. It also used to be on the movie channel like every day when I was in high school. Like when it came out in the theaters, and it made like I said, it cost like $700K and it made like $130 million. It's fucking crazy. But as soon as it's also like it's such a fantastic like business decision that it made all of this money in theaters. It spawned all these sequels. And also had the good fortune of being the perfect television movie. Like the perfect movie that you could just catch on TV and be like, how the fuck? And in the 2000s, that was like really important to making money. But it's like, it's such a fucking, it's great. It's like Blair Witch that way, you know?
What a delight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I think our modern day version of Saw or the Jigsaw Killer is like someone who kills only the rich or something.
Luigi Mangione.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. Social media Saw.
If they just let Luigi let him go and continue killing again, he would have probably come up like with the healthcare guy. He just shot him, right?
Yeah.
But he probably would have come up with more entertaining and elaborate ways of killing. Yeah.
Like a banker.
Yeah.
Maybe he would just hit him with a gold bar.
The thing is like he could be
This is not for ideas anymore.
He could be like the LeBron James of like killings that mean something.
Oh, yeah.
But instead it would be like if they came to Akron, Ohio, and they arrested LeBron James for dunking when he was like 10. And now he's got to go on trial because he's too good.
Come on. Anyway, we live in an unjust world, and cinema is the closest thing we have to a sweet escape.
And you should enjoy your life and stuff.
Otherwise, we'll kill you. Thanks, Saul.
I don't think you're allowed to say that.
Otherwise, you get to live longer.
This is all sarcasm and jokes.
Comedy.
Here we live in a socialist hellscape. They'll arrest us just for. They'll arrest
there's
us.
consequences for actions.
They'll arrest us just for talking, and then we'll have to move down to Austin and hang out with Joe Rogan and be like, "Oh, Canada's
now
fucked."
That is a true horror.
Yeah, and I say, you should feel good about yourself, but I know that I am getting sick. I'm getting a cold, and the next 2 days I'm gonna be like, I hate my life.
I wish to breathe again.
No one has experienced what I'm experiencing right now. No one has experienced this pain.
You're going to turn into Jigsaw. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
In the next 2 days? From a cold,
yeah.
You're going to make my life hell.
Yeah.
Oh, quality.
Yeah.
And that's love.
You're going to wake up in the morning and be like, babe, how are you feeling? I'll be like, some people are so ungrateful for being alive.
I'll be like, babe, why are my arms and legs chained to this
You'll be like, why do you sound
heating system?
Who do I sound like? I think it's a pretty good impression of Jigsaw.
That was pretty great. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for listening so much. Saw is a good movie.
Can you do the thanks for listening to Low Ceiling and Jigsaw's voice?
Thank you for listening to The Low Ceiling. Why are you so ungrateful for being alive?
Get him.
I'm the Jigsaw Killer.
And I'm Pri.
I'll make 10 or so more films. Bye.
See ya.